More WhoSpy photos have been released, teasing all manner of interesting things from Doctor Who's 60th anniversary specials. So WhoSpy is the official social media channel's way of giving us brief little glimpses of the upcoming episodes, of bits of prop design, graphic design, etc. They started posting these pictures a few weeks ago, and I've done videos about all of them so far, so you can find them on the channel if you haven't watched them already. But today I'll be discussing some new WhoSpy images. There are so many that have come out these past few days, in the past week or so, that I have lost count, and they've been across all sorts of different social media channels. They've not just been on Instagram and Twitter, they've been on TikTok. They've been in this new Subwave Network Instagram channel thing as well. So they've been everywhere. It's pretty hard to keep track really, but I'll try my best. So let's do TikTok first, where we have, I think, 4 different images posted, including one we've already seen of what would appear to be the controls on the new Tardis Console. So the caption goes, "Help!" 3 exclamation marks. It's hashtag WhoSpy, your spy behind the scenes of Doctor Who filming. The bosses are after me, so I'll be jumping on here from time to time so they don't cash me. Shush, shush, shush emoji. So what do we have here? We have a sort of control panel. It's difficult to tell what this is. Looks kind of earthly, I suppose. Maybe something to do with units. We've got text on this to do with what? Cooling fan warning lights, media ports, data ports, charging ports like USB ports, power ports or whatever they are. I don't know. All sorts of weird sort of technical buttons and ports and things like that. I think my best guess would be that this is some bit of unit technology, you know, possibly the galvanic beam, which we talked about in the past. We'll get back to that later on as well. But we saw the schematics for that in one of the very first WhoSpy images. We then saw it in the trailer, and there's more to come. So perhaps it's part of that. Perhaps it's just some random panel in unit headquarters that has no significance whatsoever. This next one is pretty interesting because it would appear to be from the same set that first sort of TARDIS photo was from. It's very much the same sort of colour palettes with like the whites and the metallic like silvers and coppers and things. Loads of wiring, cables, bits of technology. Looks kind of jumbled together, a bit like the kind of junk TARDIS or something like that. More cobbled together than previous TARDIS consoles we've seen in the past, if indeed that is what this is. Very interesting, very exciting though, because if this is indeed the TARDIS, you know, it looks very, very in-depth, and it does give it a kind of sense of, I don't know, just kind of going on forever. All these cables and all these wires and things, and going deep into the heart of the TARDIS. You know, you can kind of see down into the depths of it and beyond. And there are other bits and pieces there as well that look, you know, very much like they could be found on the TARDIS console. You know, things like those grey panels with blue and yellow sort of domed, I don't know, lights or whatever they are, and that kind of thing in the foreground as well, which looks a bit like a kind of camera or camera lens, levers, buttons, etc. So again, yeah, I think I'd put money on this being part of the new TARDIS. If so, very, very exciting, like I say, because it's just quite different to what we've seen before. It's a lot more kind of jumbled and cobbled together and sort of messy, but also in turn that gives it a sense of being this really complex, complicated machine that just goes on and on forever. Next we have what would appear to be a shop window, a close-up of a sort of display there with 3 like razors, I'm pretty sure, men's razors, with this kind of this brand name Valet auto stop or strap or something, strop, I don't know, safety razor made in Great Britain. Now, back when filming was going on, I think for series 14, there was filming that took place, I think, in one of Cardiff's arcades, possibly the Castle Arcade, where there was this kind of shop fronts for this oldie worldy shop from the 1900s or something, and that's what this puts me in mind of. But of course that was filming for series 14, unless there have been pickups, so a bit of a mystery there. Maybe it's a shop that kind of carries over, you know, it's introduced in the specials and kind of carries over into the episodes next year. Maybe it's part of the toy shop and the Mr. Imporium shop, although why the Toymaker would be selling safety razors, I'm not quite sure. But then again, it's the Toymaker, who knows? Moving over to Instagram now, so there is this thing now on Instagram, just generally called channels, where brands and accounts can kind of have this sort of private messaging channel where they can post stuff. You can't reply, but they post stuff to all of their followers. You have to kind of be asked to join it, I think. I'm not quite sure what the process is, whether if you go and follow the BBC Doctor Who Instagram page now, you will receive that invite. I received it because I was already following them, so not too sure. But they have started to post some WhoSpy photos on there as well. It's a similar story, so that the Doctor Who bosses have caught on to my behind-the-scenes antics. Look out for me on a few other places for the next couple eyes emoji. So we have one fairly sort of generic behind-the-scenes thing with like a clapperboard and some crew members and stuff. Now this would appear to be from the Starbeast. It would appear to be the location of Uskmouth Power Station, which is where they filmed all of the warehouse stuff. If you think back into the trailer, where like the rocket is, where UNIT are kind of storming this warehouse, where the Doctor's kind of looking around a warehouse, presumably to find this ship. It's where that spaceship crashes. It's how the whole plot of the Starbeast kind of kicks off. So that's what this would appear to be. It's kind of orange tinted industrial setting. This warehouse, or I think steelworks or whatever it is. Then we also have this picture of a sort of component in a spaceship, some sort of futuristic panel here in a futuristic ship. People have noticed and pointed out that we have actually seen this before, way back in the first trailer, that shot where the Doctor and Donna are in a ship, the door is kind of going down and the Doctor's kind of ducking underneath the door and Donna's there in the background. If you look closely in that shot, you can see this component, this sort of fluorescent, sort of neon orange lit up tube thing. I don't know what it is. I mean, the caption says, you know, what could this be used for? I have no idea. But yes, clearly some sort of a component on that spaceship, something to do with the meat, presumably the meat, because that seems to be the meat ship, or maybe it's part of the rockets, alternatively, that the Wrath Warriors use, that I was just talking about a moment ago. Maybe it will have some plot relevance, maybe it won't. You know, as with all these WhoSpy things, you have to take them with a pinch of salt. They could just be literally like taking photos of really random details that have no significance whatsoever, or they could be really significant in ways which we just can't yet predict. Then to finish off, back on the standard social media channels, we first of all have That Looks Deadly, and a photo of a sort of spiky thing with like those satellite dish type things around it. And once again, we have seen this before. This is the aforementioned galvanic beam, which we first saw, like I say, in those schematics in one of the first WhoSpy images. We then saw it in the trailer, where the Toymaker is there in his sort of cream trousers or whatever, and his boots, and his sort of US sort of inspired outfit. He's there sitting on the cannon-based thing and trying to shoot at the Doctor. That is this device. If you look closely, it all matches up. It's basically just the end of that device. And indeed, in the background of the photo, you can actually see the rest of the device alongside like a blue screen and some sky. So presumably this photo is from when they were filming that climactic sort of scene on the UNIT helipad outside. Again, with this, I'm interested to see what the relevance and significance of the galvanic beam device is. You know, whether it's this kind of really big weapon in UNIT's arsenal, which they've had for years, or they've had the schematics for years. You know, whether they end up using it, whether the Toymaker takes control of it for good and it becomes his sort of weapon of mass destruction, who knows? And then to finish off, we have another Toymaker themed item. So we have a receipt from the Toymaker's toy shop, Mr. Imporium, which of course we're now very familiar with. We saw it back on sets in like June of last year. We've seen it in the trailers. We've sort of started to glimpse the interior of that shop now as well from the studio shot scenes. So this is invoice, or receipt rather, number 19, dated 21st of June 1923. Sold to a dowel, address King's Close, and then we have the items that this character bought. So 1 clockwork train, 1 pedal car toy, and 12 marbles. I suppose he might have lost them. So again, this is probably just an incidental thing. They probably made loads of these to dress the set with, and this character, a dowel, is probably not significant. But the most interesting thing about this is the date. So we already knew, I think it was going to be like a 1920s based thing for all these historical set scenes. And with all the speculation about John Logie Baird and the history of television, Stooky Bill, etc., that was sort of early 20s, I think early like 1923, 24, 25, 26. So that does indeed line up with this, if that indeed is true, that rumour about John Logie Baird, about the history of television being part of the Toymaker's plan in some way. I think that's looking very, very likely now. I think Rusty Davies made a comment in Doctor Who magazine recently about how there's like a crossover with his show Nolly from earlier in this year, and that show, you know, featured John Logie Baird. So yeah, I think that is basically a given. It's nice to have a bit more confirmation though, officially, about the date in which, those scenes are set. I think we'd seen some posters on set that say things like, 1925, 26 or something, but to have a little bit more evidence, to have, that logo as well from the Mr. Imporium shop, to see the receipt from that, to think how far we've come from seeing the shop front from that and kind of not knowing whether it was the Toymaker or not, to now, having that receipt, having all this stuff, and knowing it's him and kind of suspecting what his plan is, just shows how far we've come really over the past year or so. But of course, as ever, mysteries and questions remain. We do not have the full picture here, just some little glimpses of bits and pieces. Do let me know your thoughts on all of these in the comments below, whether you have any particular theories that are different to mine about what any of these items, pictures, whatever, entail, what they're all about, what the story is behind them. Please do leave a like if you have enjoyed this video, and subscribe so you don't miss any more videos like this in the future, including future WhoSpy updates. But otherwise, until the next one, thank you so much for watching, and goodbye for now.